Lady yields back. The gentleman from Louisiana is recognized. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Dunn, we mourn the loss of your son, Noah, and hundreds of thousands of other victims and families who have been irreparably damaged by this catastrophe. I would note that, of course, China and the Mexican drug cartels are taking full advantage of this wide-open southwest border. We all know that. That's what the testimony reflects. We've recorded record amounts of deadly fentanyl that are coming into American neighborhoods all over the country. Last year alone, over 100,000 Americans died of a drug overdose, and the fentanyl poisoning is a key component of that, and we know it. My questions are going to be for the sheriff, but I just want to recount a couple of facts here so that everybody back home can take account. Since President Biden took office, U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials have encountered over 4.5 million illegal aliens across the southwest border. It's been said a few times. We're going to say it repeatedly today. The number is disastrous. If we do not have a border, we do not have a nation. We cannot maintain our sovereignty and security if we don't have a border. But nearly 1.7 million of those illegal aliens encountered across the southwest border have been released into America's communities. They're coming into my community, my state, and all of ours. It's all over the country now. During fiscal year 2022, CBP encountered 2,378,000 plus illegal aliens, the most in any single year. That broke the record from 2021, which is the second largest number. Just during December 2022, CBP encountered 251,487 illegal aliens crossing the border. It's the highest number ever encountered in a single month. The point is, this gets worse and worse and worse. And why is that? Well, because the Biden administration has been reversing the vast majority of the Trump administration's successful border enforcement policies, and they are systematically, they are intentionally, Secretary Mayorkas and his administration, they are dismantling immigration enforcement. They are encouraging illegal immigration, encouraging it, inviting people to come here. That's been happening for the last 2 years. It's beyond refute. That's what the evidence shows. That's what everybody can see who cares to pay attention to this. They've terminated the construction of the border wall. The Biden administration issued orders restricting immigration officers' ability to arrest, detain, and remove aliens who violate U.S. law. I can go on and on and on and on. But Sheriff Daniels, you've been in law enforcement for nearly 4 decades. You testified, you gave some very compelling testimony this morning about all the problems that you've encountered. And the question is, have you tried to share those concerns with the Biden administration? And if so, how did the administration respond?
Yes, thank you, Congressman. We actually have, on behalf of National Sheriff Association, I chair border security for national sheriffs, but our national sheriff senior leadership has attempted through letters to reach out to President Biden. He's been invited to our events with major county sheriffs, western sheriffs, southwest border, and national. We have never got a response back from this president. In fact, I was told just a couple months ago, he's the first president not to meet with sheriffs in this country. And he still has not to date, to my knowledge. Second to that is we did meet with Secretary Mayorkas. We reached out. I assembled about a dozen sheriffs. We met in El Paso. We sat down with the secretary. We gave him a 16-point action plan to share, to look at, we thought were common sense, humanitarian and public safety, national security objectives built within that. Never heard back. I asked the secretary where that plan was, what they were going to do with it. He asked me what plan. So long story short is we've never got a response back from the secretary.
It's an absolute dereliction of duty. It is inexcusable. And because of Secretary Mayorkas and the Biden administration's abandonment of any semblance of security on the border, what policies or procedures have you had to implement to cover for that?
Well, again, it goes back to where the honorable judge is talking about the absence of the state. We have the absence of the federal government. One thing I'll say, I think it's important to your question is, I work with many Border Patrol agents, federal agents, and to date, I have not heard one say that it's working. The morale, the frustration they feel, the frustration we feel, and let's not forget, we all serve communities in this country. We've had to step up our game. Again, when you look at 40 to 44% of all your crime is coming through the border. In my rural county, I don't have the pleasure of the resources like El Paso, which is urban in nature, that we've had to step, and thanks to Governor Ducey and our state legislative folks, the 4.3 million, they're helping me pay those bills. In a rural county, that's a huge impact. When it comes to our interdiction teams, our camera system, you name it, the state's helping us.
I'm out of time. I yield back, but I thank you for your service and all those brave men and women who are serving in that impossible
Congressman.
situation. Yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.